Hey everyone, welcome to Facebook Live. I'm Tracy from the Decorating Studio. If this is your first time tuning in, what we do is take a project off our website and break it down so you can make it yourself. And as always, we love to hear where you're tuning in from, so go ahead and leave a comment. Our social media team is at home. They're answering all of your questions and looking at those comments, so go ahead and follow them there. And don't forget to follow our Facebook page, and they'll get the notification when we're live, so go ahead and do that. So today I'm going to show you how to decorate these buttercream cupcakes. Now these cupcakes are more of a technique. They look like flowers sort of, but they're actually just, technique. There's some rosettes, there's some stars, there's some kind of just some wavy lines. And this technique is great for beginners because it's really just, it just looks really impressive and it's really simple. So I'll show you how I did these. First I'm going to go ahead and show you the colors I use. It's really bright and I love how they pop. So I've got my bags here with all the colors, and I've got the colors here. So the, let's see, we've got the magenta here, and that was used with the rose and the violet. And the cool thing about that is this lavender color was also used with rose and violet. So you can see the difference between using these two colors. We used more rose here and then more violet here. It just kind of gave it a little bit of pink to that, but those are the same colors. And we've got the dark purple here, and that was the violet and the burgundy. And we've got teal, which was the Kelly green and teal. And we've got this chartreuse color, and that was used with the golden yellow. We've got lemon yellow and a little bit of moss green. And I'm actually going to show you how I tinted a couple of these colors. So a lot of these dark colors, people kind of want to wonder, how did you get such a deep color? Well, this is a good example of how we did that. So we've got the light color here using the violet, but we also got that real deep color using violet as well with the burgundy. So you just need to add more color to get that vibrant color. And we also recommend, if you're making deep colors like that, to go ahead and try to make your icing the day before if you're in a color, because the colors will tend to deepen as they sit. So I'm going to go ahead and take this violet here and get the burgundy. So I'm going to make sure, make sure I open that before I show you. Okay, so we got the burgundy and the violet, and I've got just my buttercream icing here. It's the 4-pound decorator icing. It's like a medium consistency. I've got some clean toothpicks here, and I've got several toothpicks because you don't want to dip into the color, go into your icing, and then come back to the colors. You always want to use a new toothpick every time you go between the color and the icing. So because we have that deep color, I'm going to take a pretty good amount and probably just kind of scoop it in there like that. And I've got probably about, maybe about a cup of icing here. So that's my violet, and I'm actually going to start to kind of see what that looks like before I add that burgundy. So you can see it's already starting to take color really, really well. And you can certainly use, just straight violet. It makes a really pretty dark purple. But adding that burgundy just kind of gives it a little more pink tint to it. But you can see that's already a really, really dark color. So I don't know if you saw the amount I put in there. So, just a little bit of toothpick of color is going to give you a real pastel color. So you can go gradually too. Like I knew I dumped kind of a lot in there because I knew I was going dark. But if you're kind of afraid, or you're afraid to go too far, go ahead and just add a little bit at a time. And now I've got the burgundy. So I'm going to add just a little bit of burgundy, not a whole lot of that one, just to kind of change the color up a little bit. Okay, so I've got the burgundy right there, and you're gonna see how that's gonna pinken up that purple. Hopefully the camera can pick that up. You can kind of see the difference there. It's starting to get like a pink tinge to it. Okay. And that's basically the idea. I'm not going to go too much farther with that, but that's basically the idea when you want that really dark color. Now another thing I wanted to show you, I'm going to put this over here, was how I got this green color. So let me put these caps back on. And these are our icing colors. They're like a gel paste. They're not liquid, so they're real nice. They're not going to change the consistency of your icing at all. Okay, so this one I have lemon yellow, I've got golden, and I've got moss. Now a lot of times we do kind of put the golden and the lemon together. That's just kind of a preference that we like in the decorating room. You can see this is just straight lemon, so you can see how bright and sunny that is. I'm gonna add a little golden just so you can see the difference of why we do that, of why we would add that in there. It just kind of tones down that color a little bit. So take a little bit of golden here, swirl that in. And I've got another spatula here. So you'll be able to see how kind of darkens up that yellow, if you can see that. See how it's starting to kind of darken that up a little bit. So that's the difference between golden and lemon. Lemon's a brighter yellow and golden's just a little, like a duller. Okay, so now we want to make this a little bit of a green color. So to do that, I'm going to add a little bit of that moss. Now don't go too far with the moss because that will definitely darken pretty quick. So I'm just going to add a little bit just to kind of see if I can keep that same, just a touch. So a lot of times on our projects we'll see just a touch of, you know, moss, touch of black. That just means just that tiny little bit. And you can see that that will take shape. And of course, if you need to add more lemon, like I did add quite a bit of golden because I was trying to show you guys what it would look like. So I'm not quite matching the color that I had here, but you can always go back to the lemon and lighten back up. So you can always go back to the other colors and just kind of see what you like, switch it up a little bit. So I got pretty close, but you can see like that just totally changed the color of that lemon that I started with. So that's why you can play with colors. You can do kind of any kind of combinations and make it look really pretty. Okay, so I'm gonna remove these and I'll go on to the tips that I used and the techniques. Okay, so I've got the magenta here is in the tip 2D, and I've got the purple in the lavender in the 1M. And the difference between the 2D and the 1M, they're very similar star tips, but the 2D has the prongs kind of closed in a little bit while that one's a little more open. So it gives just a little bit of a different look. Then I've got the 4B in this dark purple. And this little grass tip here, it's got the little holes, use it for grass or fur. That's tip 233. And then I've got a petal tip here, which is a tip 104. And that's with this color here. So just real quick, I'll show you what the techniques and what the different tips will do, and then you can kind of do your own thing on your cupcakes. So this is the 2D, and I'll show you just what the star looks like. I'm just gonna press down and come back up. So it's just a real big star. You can do rosettes with this. So I'll show you a rosette. And then with the 1M, the difference here, oops, let me just wipe that tip off real quick. Okay, so you can see it's a little bit of more of a closed look than that one. And then I'll do a rosette with that as well. So you can see the difference. They're real similar, but this one's gonna kind of curve in more. Okay, and then I got the 4B, which was that prong tip as well, the star tip. And with this one, you can pipe, you know, just kind of small, or you can, if you squeeze, you can go as big as you like. You can be big stars, or just, you know, tiny stars. Well, not tiny, because it's not a tiny tip, but about that big is what you're gonna see with that. Okay, and then the 233 is the grass tip. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of pipe here, and you can see that it's going to, whoops. So depending on how long you hold the bag. So I've got just a little bit here, it's gonna just tip a little bit. And then if the longer you go, you know, you can go as long as you like if you're trying to, I don't know what you'd use that for. I guess if you're trying to pull hair out or something like that, you wouldn't actually do the big blob like that, but just kind of gives a bunch of little clusters of little dots. So it's almost like taking a tip 3 and pulling out those dots, but all of those little holes in that tip did that for you. So that's what you would want to do that tip for. And I've got the 104, which is the petal tip. So that is it's like making a flower. But with this technique, we're just gonna we're gonna hold the tip this way and I'm just gonna kind of do some zigzag lines. So that's what this tip is gonna give, just a little bit of texture doing like that. All right, so let me go ahead and grab a cupcake and I'll show you some of these techniques on here. So I tend to start off with the bigger tips and then kind of fill in with the little ones. So I'm gonna start with the 1M, I'm gonna do a rosette. So start on the end here and just pipe a rosette and let that go. Then I'll come in with the 2D, maybe do one over there, maybe one here. And the reason I start with the big ones is then you can, kind of fill in with that little one. Like you can kind of see there's an area here where that 104 will fit perfect there. So I'm gonna do maybe a star there, and maybe there. So that one I did a little bit bigger, just pressed pressure a little bit harder. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the 104 on this one. I'm gonna kind of pick this one up though, just so it's easier for me. Let's see if you can still see that. So I'm just gonna kind of zigzag that along. And then I've got my teal tip 233 and just pull that out. And there you go. It's all the techniques on one cupcake and it's all the textures. I love how that looks. And you can, like I said, vary up these colors. You can make it for any kind of, occasion that you've got. And don't forget, if you missed any of this beginning of this video where I showed you how to do these colors, go ahead and go back to our Facebook page, and all of our live videos live on that Facebook. So go to the video tab and you can see this from the beginning or any other videos that we've done for Facebook Live. They're all on there. So go ahead and check that out if you missed the beginning of this one. All right, so I'm gonna keep going with the next one. I'll just do a rosette here. And this time I'm gonna go for the purple. And maybe one over there. And periodically, you probably wanna just wipe your tip off in case they get kind of muddied with the other colors. Okay, I'm gonna get some pink here. And come back with that 233. And again, that's that grass tip. And the longer you kind of leave it, you can kind of, let it fall down a little bit. You can also angle how you pipe that. Like if you pipe it straight up and down, you've got, the look of that. If you go this way, they'll fall a little bit that way. And then you can kind of go that way. So you just kind of vary the way you hold the tip. And it'll change up the way that cupcake looks. So let's see, we'll do a rosette over here. Alrighty, and don't forget to let us know where you're tuning in from and ask all kinds of questions. The social media team is out there for you, answering those. And also, this project is on our website, so we've got the link, and that way you can see, how much icing I use, the colors I use, and all that stuff, by just going to wilton.com. And we'll also link that in the description. And this one, I think I'm gonna add one more of these zigzags over here. I like the zigzag. Alrighty. Okay. All right, well that is how you pipe some techniques, and we'd love to see your pictures. So go ahead, and if you do this project, go ahead and upload those pictures, and we would love to see it. So thanks for watching. This was so much fun. We'll see you back in 2 weeks at 2:30 Central. Thanks.